We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to the Born to Talk radio show. I'm your host, Marsha Wietecha, where conversations plus connections equals community. And the sidebar is, what's your story? Because everybody has one. And what would be a radio show without guests? So I want you to know that I have two guests today, as well as my neighbor, Emily Hakkinen, in the house, off camera. I'm glad she's here, Rich on the boards. But this show is about my guests. So we're going to get started. I'd like to introduce you to Roy Wolf. Welcome to the show, Roy.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And you're welcome. And did you hear we have clappers?
I do.
I know. I arranged for that you're all welcome. And Robert Kingi, welcome to the show as well, Robert.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Okay, so we've got an hour to cover all kinds of really cool things. And oftentimes people will ask me, well, how do you get your guests? And it's like, in a variety of ways, but sometimes you just have to be in the right place at the right time. Maybe you go all the way to Africa, you know? Dun, 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 dun. And that is how I met Roy, because Roy was part of, and you've heard me talk about this if you've been following my show. I have this wonderful friend, Shelley Wells, who works at Loyola Marymount University, which is right around the corner from where I live, right here in Westchester. And I've had the incredible pleasure of going on, I think, 8 international trips with Shelley. And the last time was to Africa. And who was there but my buddy Roy? So, Roy, you are the class of the EMBA 16 at LMU.
That's
so
correct.
Congratulations on your
Thank you.
graduation.
Thank
I know
you.
that it's a very rigorous program.
Yes, it is.
But absolutely. So that's how you and I met.
That's right.
Other than the fact we both wear Chucks, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
But I'd like you to spend a little bit of time, telling our audience a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? A little bit about your family, your professional life.
Well, I grew up for the most part in Southern California, so Los Angeles area. So I'm a product of the great LA Unified School District.
Like I am, okay.
Right. So,
Sure.
So started that school. All my undergrad, as far as undergrad college goes, and post-grad, obviously you just mentioned LMU. So everything's been locally connected here as far as schooling going, growing up. So having that connection with the community. So I've seen it all the various aspects of life going through that time, being in, let's say mid-30s. So a lot
You went to, where did you go to college? Undergrad?
undergrad at Long Beach State,
And what did you get your degree in there?
business marketing, business administration, concentration in marketing.
Okay, and then how much time was in between Long Beach State and LMU?
10 years.
Which is not unusual for an
Right.
executive MBA program, right?
Right.
They really almost recommend that, don't they?
Yes.
They want you to have some business experience before
Exactly.
you go off after your program. And how long is the EMBA program at LMU?
20 months.
20
The
months.
program, that's, yes, 20 months. Yeah.
Every
Quick 20 months.
Saturday.
Every Saturday. So, yeah.
And how many members were in your class? About
it's
20?
25 of us.
20, yes. From a wide variety of
Yes.
backgrounds as well.
Correct.
I like some of you more than others. I'm just kidding. That is so not true. In fact, people would say, "Are we the best class ever?" And I would say, "Well,
I'm gonna say we
sorry,
are."
Jason. Next to Jason West class, yes. You guys had a great. You were very collaborative as a
Yes.
group of people, and it was just a pleasure to be with you. And it's fun to have you here today because we talked about at some point when we get back to LA, you need to be on my show.
Yes, we did. We did talk about
absolutely
that. We had a
talked about
great
that.
conversation overseas.
We sure did. And next to you is a really good friend of yours, but somebody that's new to me, which is Robert. So Robert, welcome. Really, I'm so glad. I'm glad we had a chance to get to meet each other prior to going on the air. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you and your family and background?
I also grew up as a product of the wonderful LAUSD. But yeah, I went to Laces for high school, which is where he and I met.
Yep.
And grown up LA, Inglewood area for my entire life. My family has been in LA for the most part. Most of my dad's from Bakersfield. They ended up in LA. And our martial arts studio was in Inglewood. I spent pretty much half and half time at home and at the studio. I was probably there more so than I was at home.
At the studio.
Yeah, in Inglewood. So, but I live in Inglewood now.
Okay.
So,
And
which is
are you
hard.
married?
Yes, I'm married. We are actually going to have 10 years next year in March. So we're having 10 years.
Congratulations.
2 little ones.
You have 2 little ones.
5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh, you're not
little
busy.
monsters. Little monsters.
You're little ninjas, right?
Yep, that's right.
Oh my gosh. So you grew up in a family that was you have a rather large family, don't you?
Yeah, we have a huge family. Our family in general is it's an interesting story, a long story, but
The cliff
the
notes.
concise version.
Yes.
My great grandpa came over from Japan, and his name, Kingi is a Japanese first name.
Oh, all right.
And it's not spelled the way ours is spelled either.
Okay.
So he came over to the States. He ended up joining the Navy, and the whoever took his name, everything, they basically put it backwards and misspelled the name. So the last name Kingi, Kingi. If you see anybody with the last name Kingi, they're related to us.
there's
Yeah, so
family.
somebody will say, when people see my name and they'll go, hey, do you know Rick Kingi? Or like, yeah, that's my dad or that's my uncle. So yeah, anytime you see that name, they're part of our family. But yeah, it's super, super rich history.
Nice. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the studio in a moment, but I am curious. You alluded to this. So you guys met in high school?
That's correct.
But you started at LACIS even
I started
as a
early.
fourth grader,
Yeah.
I think you told me.
Yep, I started in 4th grade. I think my class was the last class that started at
All
4th
right.
grade. So like when we graduated, we were recognized. I guess they called us charter students or something like that. We were the
Nice.
last ones that were 4th graders at the
Nice.
school.
The survivors.
And you came in as a 9th grader?
8th grade.
Oh, eighth
I
grade.
came in
8th through
grade,
12.
yes. Yeah.
And you guys became fast friends?
No, we did not.
Definitely
Oh,
not.
good. Well, there's probably a story there, right?
There's a story. I'll give my version.
Oh, I'd like to hear your version. I wish
only
you.
one
I hope
version.
you guys are. I hope you guys are watching this because the smiles here are like blinding me. Okay, so let's hear your version. Roy.
No, we didn't. No, we were not friends. When
I didn't like him at all.
I didn't like him at all either. We kind of hung out with 2 different group of friends.
Okay.
Random happening after school, talent show type of event, and a lot of people kind of being involved, typical stuff. So, basically, long story short, confrontations happen sometimes at schools.
Yes.
Neighborhoods around, and I ended up having to save his life. That's my version.
Oh my
And then-
goodness! Before or after the talent show?
No, afterwards.
Okay.
So I was like, and then we became friends.
Okay.
Ended up coming home with me, and
There's a head
had to take
shaking
care of
on the
him,
table to the
and
right of you.
Since then, hasn't been able to get rid of me.
Okay.
That's my story.
Okay, that's your story, and you're sticking to it. I can hardly
Of
wait
course,
to hear.
saved my life. Yeah.
Saved his
So he
life.
saved your life.
Yes, I
All
did.
right, and your version is slightly different.
Pretty much. So yes,
The
there was a
clean
confrontation.
version. Okay. Uh-huh.
And so there were a group of guys that were kind of trying to pick a fight with me, and I was ready to go. I was out there, and the guys were out there on the lawn, and then next thing you know, it was actually his mom. His mom. They were.
Don't know
He
what
was
I'm
in the
talking
car with one of my other friends, who we're friends with now, who I didn't like then either. So technically, if you want to credit anybody, it's your mom. But his mom was in the car. They're like in the middle of the street. Him and my other friend are in the back of the car, and his mom stands up out of the car and like yells at me, "Get over here and get in this car!" And I'm looking like, I don't know you. So I don't want to get in your
Slightly
car. Or whatever. And I
exaggerated on
see
my
they're
part.
in the car, and she's like, "Get over here now, get in the car." So I'm like, okay,
That's what moms do when they
Right.
see something about to happen.
So I
Right.
get in the car and I end up riding with them. His mom, this is like the middle of the night. She's going to get her hair done. So we end up at a salon.
Yes.
While she's getting her
I
hair done, I'm
love
sitting
this
there.
story, like-
Back then we didn't have cell phones.
You don't have
There were
any
no
cell
cell
phone.
phones
You
or
don't
anything
even
like
know
that.
this
Yeah,
lady.
So I'm like, you have to call my parents, let them know where I'm at.
Oh my-
But I'm sitting there next to him and one of my other friends now, who I didn't like then either. And I'm just looking at them like, why am I here?
So awkward because we
Oh
do not
my
like each
God.
other. So it was very awkward.
But after that, we became
Yeah,
really good friends.
very quick.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you love his mom. If it wasn't for his
Yeah, that was
mom,
Yes.
you wouldn't be sitting in the studio with me
Exactly.
today.
Hence
You know,
saved his life.
Maybe.
yeah, exactly. Oh my God. All right. Well, that's the perfect lead-in
Right.
because at that point you were already involved in martial arts,
Yep.
weren't you? Because I remember reading a bio about you. You were walking in that studio. Probably you were just weaned in that that culture, right?
First steps, pretty much, were probably in the school.
Right. So, and this was your dad's studio,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And but it involved because are you the youngest in your family?
Yes.
So
I was
how
considered I'm kind of the oops baby.
yeah, we've all heard of those. Yeah, but we love you.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
I was as my mom called it, the blessing.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
He's the favorite.
Uh-huh.
But so it's a big. So we put a picture of your family up on the screen. Everybody is involved. Everybody is involved in martial arts.
Yes, we're
in
all
your
black
family.
belts. Yeah,
You're all
we didn't
black
have a
belt.
choice. My dad wouldn't have had it any other way. Even as kids, there were times where probably some of us maybe didn't want to do it. But now we all appreciate us kind of being forced into it and realizing the benefit we got later on.
What's the name of your school?
Kingi's Kajikembo.
Okay,
Kingi's.
and that's a discipline. We're gonna maybe you could just explain a little bit for those of us that don't really understand martial arts and what that word stands for. What exactly are we talking about?
So Kajikembo is a Hawaiian mixed martial art. Before MMA was a term like UFC and all that kind of stuff, Kajikembo was considered the original mixed martial art. So Ka represents karate, Korean Tang Sudo, Ju represents judo and jiu-jitsu, Ken represents kempo, and then the Bo represents Chinese boxing and kung fu. And these 5 guys came together in Hawaii in the late 40s and created the system. They all practiced each of these disciplines, and they came together to create kind of a no-nonsense, practical self-defense style. It was considered the art of dirty street fighting back then.
No kidding.
When they put it together, yeah. So it was real, very practical, and they're all little short Filipino guys on the islands, and they, so they had to figure out a way to defend themselves really efficiently. So that's how the system was kind of born, and came over to the mainland in the early 60s, which is when my dad picked it up as a kid. He started training with my uncles, with his brothers, in 1962.
I see. So your dad received the discipline, and then he ultimately started his own studio.
He and his twin brother and my other uncle, they were knuckleheads. So my grandpa put them in it to kind of get rein them in a little bit.
Isn't that
and my
great?
dad was the one that stuck with it, and it's turned into what it is now.
Your mom too?
Yes, my mom got into it once he got his black belt in '68. He trained and eventually started teaching out of his garage, starting with just like my mom and uncles and other family members. So then it went from there to open his own school. So.
Okay. I'm not going to call on Emily to speak on the mic because she just gave me the sign and said, "Don't ask me." But we did talk about this, off the air. And one of the interesting things that she mentioned as a person doing this is that it's really helped her in her baseball.
Yep.
That these disciplines are translatable.
Definitely.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think I hear some music. Do you?
Yeah, I do. Love to
What is this? Because this is probably your idea.
Yes, Return of the Mac.
Return of the Mac.
Classic right here.
It's a classic?
Classic song.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a classic if you're in your 30s. Okay. It's all relatable, right? Hey, it's your show. I'm just
Classic for us, I guess.
you
Yes.
bet.
Yes.
Well, you can see that this is going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of laughter on this show today. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back in just one moment.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Marsha Wietecha, inviting you to join me every Monday at 1 p.m. for Born to Talk, where conversation plus connections equal community. Be sure to tune in to Born to Talk with Marsha Wietecha, Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also listen live at iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Radio Flag, Live 365, or AHA Radio. This is reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. We are LA Talk Live, and we are born to talk. Okay, James Brown. Now this is classic.
It is.
This is timeless.
It is.
Timeless classic. Though.
Doesn't it make you just want to move a little bit?
Oh yeah, always.
Okay, well, Payback with James Brown. This is payback time. Hey, we should have played that in the last segment. That's pretty funny. That was a great story. I love that. All righty. So we're going to spend. So thank you for sharing the discipline and the understanding of how your studio started and got its name. I guess I wanted to just follow up and ask you this one question. So is this practice? Is it across the world? Is it practice this form of martial arts?
Yes,
it is.
It's all over the world. I mean, literally, we have there's studios in Kuwait. There's studios all over the country, and internationally as well. Yeah, it's grown quite a bit. It's kind of exploded in the past few decades.
Isn't that great? And now you are involved in the family business, correct?
Yeah.
And do you have competitions? Like, would you have some kind of? Do your like if you had a black belt person, would they ever go against somebody else's studio black belt person?
Yeah.
Oh, you do.
All
so
the time.
So there's competitions.
Yeah, we have a competition team that travels all over the country and competes. Yeah.
Oh, that's terrific. Boys and girls,
Boys
men's
and
and
girls.
men and adults and children.
Yep, both.
Oh, that's great. And by the way, thanks for flying in. I know that you had a really crazy weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, we just got back from Texas. We did a seminar up there for one of our studios up there.
Nice. So your dad, so one of your personal.
One of the black belts. He's under my dad. So he came out, invited us out to do a seminar.
Nice.
And, we were there for about 3 days.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So that then led you into another whole dimension, didn't it?
Yes.
It really did. And that, I think, will be the focus of what we'll be talking about now, because not only did you save his life, now it appears that you're together as collaborators on an organization that I believe you started,
yes,
Robert. So I thought we could spend some time talking about that. So we're going to talk about your organization. You want to just tell our listeners what's the name of your organization?
The Kingi Ohana House.
All right.
That's the name of our organization. It kind of it was informal, I would say, for the majority of my years growing up. It was never an official organization, but my dad, just his heart and the way that he cared for people and helped people, it just, these things it was just what he did. He didn't create programs for it. It was just kind of who he was.
Mm-hmm.
He would get on kids when they were in trouble. He would, make sure that their grades were right, and just all the little things, that the mentorship and things like that. There's so many people that are adults now that are bringing their children down to class now, because they look at my dad as a father figure, as when they were younger.
Nice.
So it's been an ongoing thing, and I wanted to kind of capture that and turn it into a kind of a structured program, a structured organization where we can really help a lot more people.
What does Ohana mean?
It means family, or in the words of, I guess, Lilo and Stitch, it means family. And,
I saw that Lilo and Stitch.
Great movie.
Yeah. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind. That was the quote from there. But it is literally in the Hawaiian spirit, so like the spirit of aloha, which basically means like loving and caring. It kind of goes hand in hand with that. So Ohana means family, and it doesn't necessarily mean blood relatives. It's an extension of a family as well. Which is what we have.
So what could you pinpoint what inspired you to start doing this? Was there something specific that said, I don't know, was it because you had your own family then? What do you think, what was the impetus that started this for you?
It's been on my mind for a while, even like fresh out of high school when I was in college.
Really?
I started a small organization then to help some high school kids with kind of prepping for college and things like that. So it's always been something I've leaned towards. It's kind of a passion, I guess, to help people. And just watching my dad over the years, help people. We have so many success stories that have come out of the school that have gone on to do amazing things. I wanted to reach out to as many people as possible and give people the opportunity to get what I had and what a lot of these other kids had. So that was kind of more or less the inspiration, is just reaching out and helping as many people as possible. And
So how did you get involved in this project? I'm just curious.
It's funny enough, like as Robert mentioned before, we kind of bounced ideas through the years of talking about just how can we, give back to the community that we're involved with. How can we utilize or use the blessings that we've had to give back? And we've kind of done small things. Things that have kind of just, and then, life takes over and you go off, do your own other ventures and things of that sort. But for me, it was just, it was instant synergy. Once he came to me with the I was fortunate enough to be approached with the idea of being one of the board members, and bringing certain aspects that I have and my passion just to give back and help youth, especially at risk youth, just on every aspect of it of learning the business tools, aspects of things, as far as just knowing how to go about just life lessons, things of that sort. I mean, it's a lot of things that for myself I've been through, growing up in a single family household. That aspect and that demographic hits home for me, and being able to take those lessons and life lessons I've had over the years and give that back in certain type of ways, letting people know like, hey, just because it may be a product of that environment doesn't mean you have to become a statistic of that environment, so to speak. So,
did you have mentors growing up where you were a single, and do you look at those mentors and say, I think I can pull some aspects of what that meant to my life, and does that been helpful to you?
Absolutely. I mean, my mentors have come in all shapes and forms, men and women, professionally, personally. I mean, his father, family. I mean, since we became friends unconventionally, I've always been around just the Kingi household, and just been, even though I wasn't necessarily involved with Kaji Kembo growing up, or even to this day, they still try to get me involved. However, I won't do it. However, I do have a healthy and just passion, respect for what it means and discipline that comes behind it, and just seeing his siblings, the family, the unit, the cohesion that they have that comes with that. I mean, it's something that's very aspiring, and to have that and leverage that into what we're trying to do as far as this nonprofit goes, it was instant synergy from jump. So
I bet.
Yeah.
Is your oldest is 5?
5.
So it's a little boy?
Yes.
Is he already coming to the studio?
He's already a little monster. I was kind of the same way. The studio opened in 1981. I was born in 82, so I pretty much was raised there.
Sure.
My son is no different. So he's, first steps on the mat. Same thing with my daughter. My daughter's even gotten into it now. At 2, she's already started and was sparring, and yeah, they're born into it. So it's in their blood now.
Right.
Yeah.
I know Emily's told us she started at 4. I mean, they really can start young, can't they?
And you would be amazed at what they get from it, at such a young age. We've had one who started at 3 or 4 years old. He's now a junior black belt, and he's 10 years old. And I mean, he's trained for more than half of his life, so it's pretty amazing the kind of things that you see happen.
Speaking of junior black belt at age 10, who was the first one to do that at yours?
That was me.
That would be you, right?
That was me.
Do people... I don't know that I can appreciate what that means. How many different colored belts are there?
So there's white, yellow, orange, purple, blue, green, and then brown. You have pretty much 3 steps of that, and then black belt after that. And for me, I was a junior black belt until I was between 16 and 18 is when you qualify to be an adult black belt.
And the requirements and the things that you have to do to receive those belts, doesn't matter where you study. It is the identical same expectation to get those belts?
Well, for our system, everybody has their own curriculum.
Oh, all right.
But our particular curriculum is pretty tough.
All
so
right.
it takes a while to get there, and we're not the everyone gets a trophy, the participation trophy thing. We don't do that. So there's a lot of people who come and expect to just be handed belts, and then we don't do that. So I mean, there's people who've been students for 10 years, and they're still kind of slowly climbing their way up the ranks.
It's really interesting, depending upon who you talk to. When you made the comment about just because you're there and you're that. There is really 2 sides of that story, isn't there?
That's a whole other
Isn't
topic,
that?
yeah.
Well, because it's true, It's like, oh, Joey did his best, and so why can't he get a trophy?
Right.
And what you're saying is Joey will get a trophy, but Joey has to earn the trophy.
Right. They have to work hard. They have to learn, there's anything that's worth doing, or, especially something that you're passionate about, anything that's worth doing is going to take some time, it's going to take some effort, and they need to understand that everything's not given to you, and that's one of the things that we teach at our school. We teach reality. So, we want to prepare them for more than just defending themselves on the street. We want to prepare them to be able to go out into the world and be able to assimilate into, the professional world or whatever, the athletics, whatever they want to get into, with that kind of confidence and that attitude that I can do anything. I've failed before, I've picked myself up and I kept going, so that's life is going to hit us. no matter where we are. That's the main thing we try to teach is that, you can get past that. You can learn, you can grow, and just continue to push yourself.
You you don't really participate in martial arts, right?
No, I do not.
Way to go. No,
Yeah.
but how have you taken some of those disciplines that you were just talking about, Robert, and applied that to where you are today as a board member in your career? How has that been able to translate for you?
I think for me, it's really about, I guess, having you can say visibility to it through the years. Like, again, we've known each other since high school. So, I mean, doing the math, we're going on a decade now or so. More than that, actually. So being around it and seeing it, and you have no choice but to take on certain aspects of it. The exposure to it, how they go about, just certain, like the structure, the discipline, you take that upon your life as far as how I go about, whether it's studying for school, whether it's going about, how I go about my professional career, being in the finance world. It's a lot of that stuff that you just take apart, even just in your interaction with just people as a whole. And then for me, that's very important because, again, what we're trying to accomplish here is preparing the youth for that next step, that life outside of that range of high school. After high school, what does that mean for you? Or even while you're in high school. I mean, there's life lessons to be lost right there.
You
start
don't just
early.
wait.
You do not wait. And I think that's one of the things that I guess you can say for myself, would have loved to have that avenue. And so those things I kind of go back on, just thinking of what would I have loved growing up and try to have that influence now. Because I feel like we, together with this, we have the capability of doing so.
Yep.
It's just bringing just awareness to it. And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, it sounds sounds like a lofty goal, but it sounds like an attainable goal.
Oh, yeah.
Because your passion is there. So I'm curious, I'm trying to visualize your studio.
Yep.
And so 5, 8, 10 kids are there, and you're working on a martial arts discipline.
Yep.
Is there also lecture time? Is I guess what I'm saying is there time where you are now speaking, and you're not doing an active activity, or is that how it works? I don't really know because
there's a little bit of both.
Okay.
The martial arts part of it, like the classes, a lot of it's intertwined into the lessons. So. Even small things such as bringing one of the kids up to the front of the class. So we may have a class of 20 kids, 15 kids, and we'll bring a kid up to the front of the class and have them lead the entire class in jumping jacks, or have them lead the class in, the exercise. So like little small things like that to kind of teach them the leadership skills and the confidence building. So we do little things like that as we're going through the class, and somebody may not get something, or we have some kids who will just shut down, they'll break down and cry because they don't understand it or whatever, and we'll holler at them, we get on them, but they get out of that mode of kind of that self-pity or feeling sorry for myself, and they learn to kind of grow and learn from it. So a lot of it's kind of intertwined. It's mixed into, what we do and the way that we teach. And my dad, he's a master at it, at kind of using everyday activities and things that happen in class and turning them into life lessons.
Can you give me an example of something that would be like an exercise that turns into a life lesson? What would that look like? What would be an example?
So, we have, like, our belt testing is pretty intense.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen it?
I've seen it, yeah.
All right.
That's why I don't do it.
So, and it's not for the faint of heart. But they, we push them. We push them to reach their highest goals, or to reach things that they didn't even think were possible. So
I don't even know what that would be. Is it something physically strained?
Yes,
what is
mentally,
that?
physically, and it's a lot of material that they have to learn and know. Like even for just a yellow belt or whatever, like there's a lot of information, and a lot of times parents will come in and think, my kid can't do that. They're not going to be able to do that, and before you know it, they're doing it with no problem. We've had kids come in. We have kids that are that have special needs. We had a child who was autistic and he started with us as a young child, and now he's 16, I believe. He's touring colleges now and getting ready to go to college.
Best?
So like seeing these things happen has just been kind of amazing, and it all comes from that. All right, I can't do it. Oh yes, you can do it. And then they eventually start believing it themselves, and then it's amazing though.
It's an empowerment, isn't it?
It's that instant self-confidence.
And self-confidence, and like I was just visualizing the jumping jacks. It's almost like you picture your kid, and they're in their 3rd grade, and you have to do an oral book
Exactly.
report. And it's like, oh,
It's the
not
same
me.
thing. It's
I
the
can't
same
get up in
thing.
front of the class.
And that helped me so much. Like even in school, when it was time to do a report in front of class,
Right.
I had no problem.
I
Get in
can
front of the class with ease.
With
So,
confidence.
Yeah, we'll have little kids. I mean, 5, 6 years old, come up in front of the class and run. Even our little ninjas, our little 3 and 4 year olds, they'll come up in front
Is
of the
that
class.
how?
and count.
Because we're
Yep.
posting some pictures of
Yep.
some little ninjas. They're
Yep.
so adorable. So they could be 3,
and
4 year old.
They'll come up in front of the class and say, 25 jumping jacks, ready to begin. And it's always
And they're
funny.
doing them too. They're
doing them too.
demonstrating.
They're leading the class. And the parents are always, they're just like mouth open,
whoa.
like, that's my child.
Yes.
So yeah, like little things like that are just, all those little things count. They build and they add up. And it turns into something special, especially if they stay long enough and get to black belt. It's a huge moment.
Do these little ninjas? Do they come like once a week?
Twice a week.
They come twice a week.
Twice a week.
And then you
Some of them
have
3 times. Yeah.
Wow. And then you have a junior group. And what is sort of what is their age?
So we have everything from our 3 and 4 year olds are primarily the little ninjas, and then everything from 5 up to about 14 is our juniors, and then we have adults as well.
So 5 to 14.
Yep, and they're broken up by age. So we
Well,
have a
thank
5 and
you.
6 year old class, 7 to 9 year old class, 10 to 14.
Some little
they're
6 year old
broken up.
taking down a 15 year old. It's
It's-
like, okay.
Could be the opposite too.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's
happens.
true.
It happens.
So it sounds very physical.
It is.
I mean,
It
it's
is.
rigorous. Do you practice at home, or do you only do this in a studio?
I don't do
Of the
anything at home.
kids.
Yeah, my kid, they love.
That's what I mean. Like, so if like
Yeah.
the jumping jacks, would
Right.
you guess that these kids do jumping jacks when they're at
Oh,
home?
they do.
They do. There's
They
an
do.
that's their homework.
And that's part of what we tell them, and we could always tell the kids who practice and the ones who don't when they come to class. We could always tell the ones that are really pushing themselves. I even have parents who will send me emails and say, look, the kids love it, and they're doing, workouts at home and brother and sister helping each other. So yeah, it's fun.
Do you do planks and things like that?
Yeah.
I mean, all right, and do you do what is that other thing?
Burpees.
Burpees.
Yep, I do
So
them all.
in other words,
burpees.
all right, so you
My
love
mom is the
burpees.
plank. My mom
Sometimes,
is
love
we
hate.
call her Professor Plankenstein. That's
Oh
my
my
mom. She's 70 years
God.
old, but she can plank longer than any
Like,
human being.
don't
I've
tell
ever
me.
known.
Like, how long?
Literally, I go down within the first few minutes. She's up 5 minutes. She's talking to people.
It's
She's in a plank,
impressive.
just talking to people. Come on, you guys, and
Elbows or
elbows.
Yeah.
Elbows. So that's
That
all
is
core.
so
All
hard.
core. Yeah, she's a monster. She's a
She
beast.
is.
Before
She's a
I was a
beast.
mega superstar on the radio, I was I actively went to the YMCA. Now I just pay for the membership, but I don't go. And that's okay. It's a good cause. But I had a personal trainer.
Planking is
Holy
tough, man.
cow, that's not easy to
Yeah.
do.
She'll
And
stay
I
on there
thought it was
forever.
easier actually on my wrist to be more,
Flat,
on
yeah.
that way. When you're flat and it's like
All core.
that is
That's
not
all core.
easy.
Yeah.
And burpees, you love burpees?
Love
Yeah.
hate.
There's so
Okay.
many different ways to do them.
Different ways.
It's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you use that what is that flat thing where it's flat on one side and it's round on the top?
Bosu ball.
The
or
Bosu ball.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
it's-
that and you can use that. Oh, that's just crazy. It just flies. I
It
told you I was
does.
going to do this whole
I-
squirrel
I-
thing,
yeah.
but that's
It's
okay.
fine.
It's because it's great because aren't we just loving what you're doing? I mean, obviously you guys are really appreciating and loving what you're doing.
absolutely.
And what a difference it's made for you in your life and what a difference makers. You are difference makers. So we're going to take a break. We're listening to Under Control because we're pretty much under control. It's the internet. I've heard of that.
Yeah. Good group.
No, I haven't heard of the group.
It's
I've
a
heard of
group.
the internet. Oh.
See? Ah.
I'm
So you want to during the break?
See, well, yeah, tell me about them on the break. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
It's under control, I got it. And as it unfolds, I got you, I promise I'm on it.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and hosts of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Marsha Wietecha, inviting you to join me every Monday at 1 p.m. for Born to Talk, where conversation plus connections equal community. Be sure to tune in to Born to Talk with Marsha Wietecha, Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also listen live at iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Radio Flag, Live 365, or AHA Radio. This is reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. We are LA Talk Live, and we are born to talk. Okay, we're listening to Dang by Mac Miller. Now, for those of you that are over 50, this is not Dang Me by Roger Miller. This has a different sort of sound to it. I actually like this one.
Yeah, see?
This has got a sexy little beat. I can feel
There we
it.
go.
I don't see anything explicit in this one, although
No.
we could keep going.
No, it's fine.
No, this is good. Okay, we're not going to keep
Right.
going. But just in case you're all wondering, because that little E, that little round thing with the E on it, that's explicit.
Right.
That might be a good word of the day.
There you go.
Explicit. All right. So, well, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying with us. And I wanted to ask you, so what are you looking to accomplish, like as a board member? What are you looking to accomplish at the Ohana House?
Interesting enough. I think for all of us board members, there's about seven of us, 8 of us. We all bring different dynamics to the board itself, different experiences, different objectives, things of that sort. We're all coming together to kind of make it one. I think for me, the thing that hit home for me as far as the Kingi Ohana House goes is being able to connect with that range of group 13 to 17, where you're still trying to figure out aspects in life, where you're trying to just understand who you are as a person, man or female, I should say, and really just connecting with them and having them understand, like I was at that position too.
You remember?
And I do remember, it wasn't that
Tough
long
time.
ago, tough time,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
being able to have a voice and having someone listen to you and be able to give them just that platform to just talk freely. I mean, one of the programs that hit home to me, probably talk a little bit more about that later, was the Man Time Project. Having to be able to come and speak to them about real life lessons, whereas things that they're going through, adolescence things, the opposite sex, understanding what that means, and just being able to identify yourself and knowing who you are and honing in on that and what you want to do as you get older, and zeroing in on what your strengths, your weaknesses are, what your passions are, what you value, and just giving them a platform just to understand that. I mean, that's important, I believe.
You know, that group called Internet was what we went out with, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't around when you guys were kids.
Not at all.
And therefore, there's a much different experience with our young people today
Yep.
and their phones, right?
Right.
I mean, they all
Talk about
have
all the
them.
time.
Right. they do.
And and I don't care where you are. I walk at LMU every day, so I'm there all the time. And there's summer camp going on right now, and we're there early. We're there at 6 in the morning. So there's a camp going on, and we see a lot of kids. They're running. I don't know what their camp is. It's a sports camp, I imagine. So we've seen them running the grass area, and then they're sitting resting. And there are about 8 of them today. And as we're right by the big chapel, by the
okay.
church, in that part of the grass.
Right.
And I said to my friend Sherry, look, every single kid had their phone out.
Yep.
Every single one.
Yep.
Now, I know that there's a downside. There's an upside too.
Right.
Like anything.
Yeah.
This is how young people communicate with each other. You have to learn how to spell, or auto-populate will change words into what you didn't mean to
Right.
say.
Right.
But there's bullying now. You can not really be very private any longer. And I imagine that is maybe something that you touch in, because our adolescents today are dealing with some, and just their access to so much, and how
Right.
you can monitor that. You mentioned the Man Time Project, and there are a lot of incentives and projects that you do in your Ohana House, Kingi Ohana House. So why don't we, since you mentioned the Man Time Project, let's talk a little bit about that. Is this strictly a male program for boys, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And what are their ages?
13 to 17.
Okay. And then, so they're not necessarily doing anything having to do with martial arts. This is a class, for lack of a better word. Is this what that is?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, it's for boys 13 to 17, and it's pretty much, it's just strictly a mentorship program. A lot of them come from our martial arts program, but we do have quite a few who have been part of it, and they've never taken martial arts or never been in our martial arts class. But it's, as of right now, the way we structure it, it's like an 8-week program. We meet once a week on Saturdays. and for about a couple hours every day or every Saturday. And each week is a different topic. So, and it's always going to be a topic that's kind of something that they're facing today. You know, for instance, like what you just talked about, we talked just last week about social media and the influence and what's real and what's really not. We talk about, you know, sex and girls and things, and just things that they are unable to open up about to parents or to, you know, some of their family members. And it's just guys. It's, you know, the guys that I bring in, people like Roy's come into quite a few of them.
Nice.
A few of our other black belt instructors and men that I know who have integrity, who are good guys, who can share something that will help them. I bring them in each week, and, you know, that way it's more of an open forum where they can discuss, you know, whatever is on their mind.
Do you sit in a circle?
Sometimes
Sometimes,
we have
if it
recently
calls
Yes.
for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where do you actually? Where's the location? Where do you do this?
We do it at our martial arts studio.
So your studio is
that's the hub for
That's the hub for
everything right
everything
now.
right now.
that's where everybody
little-
goes.
We're
huh?
looking to grow that.
Yeah, we have a little
Isn't
small
that
room in
nice?
the back, and we just put some tables.
You need
up
to
and
grow that. Is
Oh,
that what I
definitely.
heard?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Board members,
Yep.
fundraising is on your agenda
yeah,
somewhere.
It's on there.
I bet it has to be,
Has to
right?
be, yeah.
It absolutely has to be. And your speakers, I'm guessing they're volunteers.
Yep.
They don't
Yes.
get paid.
No, they just come and they
Do
want to, you know, share.
Do the kids know? You said it's an 8-week class. This particular thing. Do they know ahead of time what the subject matters will be, or do
Yep.
so you
Yep.
have like a class?
We
Awesome.
tell them, you know, what each week what we're covering each week, and then at the end of the 8 weeks, we have a kind of a culmination. We do a camping trip, and it's
nice.
just, you know, again, it's just the guys. We go out there and just camp for 3 or 4 days, and that's the time for us to kind of reflect on the entire
Reflect and
program and
bonding.
what
Oh, I
happened, and
love
just bond,
that.
you know, and it's just something that they'll remember forever. You know, something that'll take with
Oh,
them forever.
you are right about
Yep.
that. So, after these boys do that 8-week session, I imagine they don't want to tether away from you guys. Can
Yeah.
they come back for another 8 weeks, or
Yeah.
can you have more than one?
Please come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Please come
And that's
back.
the issue now that I'm
Right.
kind of running into is it's grown.
Yes.
So now, you know, I'm gonna eventually, probably for next year, we'll start breaking them up in age groups a little bit differently, so that they can essentially graduate from this, you know, younger age group into the next one, and then
Right.
the older ones can come back and mentor as well.
How
So
Right.
yeah, so
it's a
I'm
cycle.
structuring
You
it.
cycle,
want
exactly
that.
what
You
we want.
absolutely want that
Right.
cycle.
Yep.
Is everybody typically from Inglewood that comes to you? Because I mean,
No.
are they? They're coming
They're
from.
all over, yeah.
They're all
All
over.
Yep.
So, are there any relationship issues within these boys? I mean, do you have any conflict amongst your group?
No, I don't think we.
They-
I mean, we've had a few conflicts. Just, I mean, with any teenage boys,
Right.
there's going to be that bravado,
Right.
and, you know.
Uh-huh.
But it gets worked out pretty quickly, and, you know, and then they realize, you know, especially by the time the camping trip comes around, they realize, you know, why we're here and
You
what this is
bet.
about. So
That's so
Yeah.
cool. Do you have something that's an equivalent for girls?
yes, the Heart of Sisterhood project.
Oh, what
which
a
is-
perfect lead-in, too.
Yeah, that's headed up by my.
I wonder
my
if I
wife.
knew that.
Right.
No, actually, honestly, to be honest with you, it just seemed like the natural question
Yep.
because I would
Yeah.
think it would be important for
Absolutely.
girls to have those same
Yeah.
topics. Is your wife
My
involved in
runs
that?
Yeah, she runs that program along with my niece. My sister helps out with that as well, and pretty much, you know, the same thing. Their thing is kind of geared towards self-empowering. They talk about etiquette and things like that, and other things that these young ladies, you know, again, a place for them to open up, you know, and
Sure.
talk about things freely.
I should have played It's a Family Affair. I'm sorry. Why didn't either one of you think that, Sly?
I know.
Sly,
Yeah.
we should have had a family affair. Clearly, it's a
Right.
family affair. So, you are pressed for space.
Yes, very much. And actually, that became an issue this year because I typically do my thing on Saturday. I also have that, like I mentioned earlier, our competition team that travels. So they practice on Saturday mornings. Man time follows right after that. And then usually the Sisterhood Project will follow after that. But it was so late in the afternoon, we just didn't have the time, you know, juggling the kids and everything else. So
Right.
Bet.
my wife now does it on Monday evenings
All right.
for the girls. And it's just, you know, we make do with the space that we have, but you know, we definitely need the space.
And you know, Inglewood has so many churches. Any local churches by where they've got like a fellowship hall or anything
Right.
like that?
Yeah, stuff like that we can look into, and I mean, ideally, what we would like to do is purchase a building, have a
Well,
building that we
sure.
can, call
Those
home.
of you that are listening,
Yes.
they will gladly
We will
accept a
gladly-
donation.
For sure.
Yes.
How would they do that? I mean, seriously, why don't you just throw that out there? Is there a way that somebody could reach you? What would they go to your website? What would they do?
Yeah, they can go through kingikaju.com.
You know you're gonna have to spell that.
KINGIKAJU.com. Our site for the Ohana house is still, we're building it now.
You're building
it's
that website.
kingi.org.
Right.
So KINGI.org. But yeah, I mean, email, call. I mean, we're
You're
you know,
available.
Yeah, we're
Definitely.
available for any and
You
everything.
bet.
So
Do you have a grant writer on your team?
we are looking.
We
for
are
a
looking
grant
for
writer.
one right
They're
now.
looking
actually.
for a
in
grant
the
writer.
market.
Anybody in
Yes.
the LA
Anybody
area?
grant
That was
writing?
literally
Listen.
That was our top
main
priority.
topic of our
It
last
was.
Oh no,
It
kidding!
definitely was.
I must have
Main
been
topic.
hovering.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because why? I was at a board meeting this past Saturday with just like meeting with you guys and having. I'm now a board member with an organization
Nice.
called
Oh,
Share
congrats.
Hope USA.
Okay.
Nice.
.com.
Yes.
There you go.
Nice.
And
That's
what
good.
were we talking about? Our little small group of board
Grant
members.
writer.
We need a grant writer.
Right.
It's huge.
It's very important.
And you want
It's
that
huge.
grant writer to do it for free, ideally.
Right.
Some college kid that's learning how to do grant writing.
Mm-hmm.
That every nonprofit benefits by a grant.
Yeah.
I mean, and you'd like a big one because
Yes.
then you need the space because you're providing services for a community and a demographics of young people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't come from a single parent that's coming to your studio.
Right.
But there isn't anybody that doesn't need a mentor.
Right.
I don't care how great your parents are.
Right.
Because you bring a different perspective and you're younger maybe than the
Yeah.
parents.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
connect
just
with
You
them a
can
little
connect
bit.
with them a little more.
you bet. So this I know we put up a picture that I guess that's your wife in the picture. So they do some dancing and things like that. Is that
Yes.
part of what they do?
Yes. Yeah, she has a Moving from the Soul Dance Academy. She basically danced like I did martial arts. So she
All
started
right.
dancing when she was 4 years old. Debbie Allen.
Oh, no kidding.
Eartha, yeah, it's just she's been around the dance world for
A long
her entire
time.
life. Yeah, so that's something that's kind of ingrained in her as well.
Nice.
It's something that she's passionate about, and she kind of took it and meshed it a bit with her, her passion to help people and help young girls.
That's and that's through the Sisterhood Project,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, and then the Moving from the Soul Dance Academy is her.
That's
her
another
dance
program.
Oh,
as
that's
well.
not so that could
It's
be
just for
boys and
dance.
girls.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just for dance. Yeah.
And we were just moving over to that because I can't say that. I should say it.
Kaju Kimbo.
Go for
That's
it. Go for it.
Kaju Kambo.
Kaju
Kaju
Kimbo.
Kimbo.
Kaju Kembo.
There you
Kaju
go.
Kembo.
See, you got
Kaju
it.
Kembo.
You got it.
Don't say you can't.
You
Right.
got it.
Because my word today was unlock. And if you say you can't, you won't.
There you go.
There you go.
If you say you can't, you won't. Say you can and you will.
You got it.
I love it.
Oh my God, where was
got
that
it.
profound thing coming from? Jeez. So yeah, you could use some more space,
Yeah,
couldn't
for
you?
sure.
Yes.
So you do a dance academy, you do your martial arts, you
Yep.
do your man,
mentorship programs,
and then you have a summer camp
Yes.
program as well.
It's
Is that
going right now?
so?
Literally
Tell
right
me
now.
about that.
So yeah, our summer camp runs for about 6 weeks every summer, and it's
Sleepover, day camp.
It's day camp.
It's day camp.
All right.
Yeah, they drop off, early in the morning, and then pick up later. And then the kids who actually take martial arts, they literally are there all day. They get
All
dropped off in the
day
morning,
long. Yeah.
and then they go for camp, and then they take class, and the parents basically just leave them all day long, pick them up at the end of the day, and
At-
go
at-
about their
at your
business.
school?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. At the
And they
studio,
do
so-
activities throughout the day.
Right.
Movies to parks to museums. Take them around the city to show them that there's more to the city than just your phone and video games
Yeah.
or TV. It's getting to embed into what the city has to offer.
Isn't that
which is great.
terrific?
Mhm.
There are so many free things
Yes.
that
Yep.
you can do. How do you transport them?
We have that's another,
It's another need.
Anybody got an
have-
extra bus?
We have we had a
Need.
15-passenger van, and we called it Big Bertha,
Uh-huh.
but Big Bertha's gone.
Big Bertha Pass.
Yeah,
Yes,
Big
Big Bertha
Bertha's
passed.
gone. So I've been renting a 15-passenger van, which has been killing us. But
Yeah.
it's something that our kids look forward to every year. Summer camp is something that they always look forward to. So so we put it together and made it happen. But that's something that we need.
So
to
you
get them
must not
around.
have do you just have the one van?
We have the one.
So and you have to
So
have
we
a
have-
ratio. So
yep.
you don't have
So
that
our
many
cap-
kids in summer camp,
Yep.
right?
Our cap is between 13 and 15
Yeah,
kids
we have to
each
cap
week.
it. 'cause
You-
of-
Yeah,
that.
because we
Yeah.
don't have the space to,
Mhm.
Right.
and we have kids who really want to come, and
I
we
bet.
have to cap it. Yeah.
It must be a challenge as I think about and I'm experiencing your passion, it's like money is like you need the money
Right,
to get to
right.
provide the services,
Right.
Mhm.
and it's vital.
Yep.
Because it's not that you don't have the desire to do more, but you're somewhat limited. You know,
Yep.
if you have one band, how great would 3 bands be?
Right.
You know.
Right.
Have you ever taken them over to LMU?
Oh,
Not yet.
You need to
It
do
needs
that.
to happen.
we'll
You
make that
need to-
happen.
you need-
We
you-
will make that happen.
You need to make that
Yeah.
happen, and you have connections. I
Definitely.
have connections
Mhm.
there. I think that would be a great place to take the kids and experience what it's like to be on a college campus.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
That'd be
brand
really
new
cool.
It's a
thing.
different mentality.
It is, and
Yeah.
there's some really cool outlook places because I'm into the bird thing.
Yep.
So there's some great outlooks. There's some great places to hike.
Right.
Do you ever have guest speakers come and speak to these kids
Yes.
during day camp? So, for instance, I'm just flying over my head now. I'm connected to the people at the Audubon, and they like to speak. So
Oh,
it'd be
okay.
really interesting, as I kind of review over the guests that I've had over the year.
Yeah.
That's at the heart. My connections is just like I was telling you off the
Right.
camera with Jason West getting in touch with me,
Right.
or somebody else getting in touch with me about shoes that they manufacture. There are so many nonprofits
Right.
doing so many wonderful things. My Share Hope, that is, just to digress for a second. So this started by an 8-year-old who's 10 now. His name is Simon. He has such a huge heart about sharing hope. 2 weeks ago, through the collaboration of his parents and you don't do this all by yourself
Right,
as
right.
a
You need-
10-year-old.
yeah.
You need
Right.
you need the engine behind
Absolutely.
you. But he goes to school in Lenox, and this is year 2. They collected 11,000 cans of Play-Doh,
Wow.
and it was delivered through this incredible moving company, also donated
That's
to
awesome.
Children's Hospital LA.
That's awesome.
Because you know what? Kids can come up with wonderful
Right.
ideas too.
Yeah.
That whiteboard where you can just be writing is
Absolutely.
essential,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Don't
it
you
is.
love it?
I love the whiteboard.
The whiteboard is so cool.
Yeah.
And so you can be talking about all kinds of things that kids can apply to their classwork, to
Right.
their
Right.
home life. The young kid mentors the younger sibling.
Right.
I just think it's tremendous. You're more than a pretty face there. You really are.
Thank you.
Well, I know
Me
it's
anyway.
it's,
Maybe.
it's Roy. I don't want to tell you about Roy. That could take us right over to Made with Love. No, I'm just saying it's Made with Love, Roy.
Hey.
No, Roy, I love you. I
love you too.
love you, Roy. So, no, we're not going to go there.
Let's not go
okay, let's not go there. Because the next thing, I'd rather talk about Chucks. So what is Made with Love? That is another program.
Yeah, that's kind of the overarching program for the Sisterhood Project.
Okay.
My wife got her certification in teen life coaching and
Oh,
things like that. So she
nice.
helps mentor young. She was doing it one-on-one, so that's mainly for like a one-on-one. She doesn't want to call it like counseling, but it's more of
Right.
just like communicating and opening up to these younger
It's
girls.
not
so.
easy.
Yeah. And like
It
I
is-
said, with the way that things are now, with technology, with them, with so much that they're exposed to, just having those outlets and people to talk to is huge. So, yeah.
And then you've Real Fit Plus. What is that?
We talk about nutrition.
All right.
We had a fitness program that we're trying to get started as well, but it's we don't have the space for the fitness
Sure.
program like we
Right.
used to. So we want to we have quite a few of our black belts, our instructors who are certified personal trainers and nutritionists and things
It's
like
important, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is.
So that's something that
At an
that's
early
something we
age.
want to eventually grow into. Right now it's kind of in the early stages. We don't really have a space for
Right.
it, or
but it's a dream.
yeah,
Right.
And that's part
Right.
of the
And so if I was to say to you right now, what are your biggest needs? What would you say are your biggest needs right now?
Space, the building.
Yeah,
Definitely the
definitely
building. I
space.
think that would probably be
we have so
the main
many
thing.
people
Right.
that want to help and
Exactly.
do things. We just literally just need the space.
Right.
All right.
That's kind of the big thing. The Ohana University thing that we're trying to grow as well.
Mm-hmm.
One of our parents, who was a former student, she tutors and she does it
wonderful.
for free
Wonderful.
for our students at the school. So
Perfect lead into my next question. Volunteers.
Yeah.
You can always use more
Oh,
volunteers.
absolutely.
Always.
All aspects of whatever background you come from,
Good.
there's always a need for it. So yeah, definitely.
And they can
welcoming.
they can get to you through the website
Yes.
on Facebook.
Right.
You can find you on you're on
Yes, we're all
Facebook, you're on
over Facebook.
LinkedIn, you're all over the place, just like I am.
And
You're
students
not-
looking for college credit, we have internships
there you
too.
go. You have
Internships, yeah.
internships,
We'll have
as,
internships
well.
So yeah, definitely.
Oh my gosh. I told you this was going to fly. We are going to take a very, very quick break right now because we're almost at the end of the show. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. We're listening to now. See,
I told you.
More
I
classics.
like
Yes.
More classics.
it's a paradise.
Hey.
Sade without an H for those of you that can't spell. S-A-D-E.
Correct.
We'll be right back.
You're mine like paradise.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA. We are more than just talk.
Well, welcome back, everybody. In these final moments, you should see us juggling papers here. We could have used an hour and a half. I said, do you think we'll have enough to talk about? Hello. Anyway, we have plenty to talk about. But I want to tell you about next week. And we talked about this off the air, too. I've had some guests that have been so significant that I've invited them back, and such is the case for my guest next week. Dr. Ravinder Singh will be joining me next week. I met him at the Y. When I was at the Y, I was responsible for bringing programs to the Y, and that's where I met Ravinder. He's a neurologist, and he has a practice in Beverly Hills, but his focus is migraines. He is the migraine expert. And he's written a book. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek. Not tonight I have a headache, but in reality, a headache will put you to bed. And for those people that truly suffer from migraines, he brings his Eastern and his Western medicine styles together. And we're going to be talking about what's new in the field of migraines and all of that. So he'll be my guest next week. So I hope you join me. But as I was saying, these are these two men. I hope you're watching because they are really awesome guys. I wanted to talk a little bit about the balance in life.
Sure.
Because it's what I struggle with. It's what most of us struggle with.
Yep.
So besides all these things you just mentioned, you do have a full-time job.
I do.
You do. But you do other things on the side too, don't you, Roy?
I do.
What I now pronounce us. I think we just got
Yeah,
married. So
I
what do
do.
you do on the side?
One of my other passions, because I do have a few of them, is mixology. I mean, I'm a licensed and trained and all those good things you want to call it, mixologist. I say bartender. I would say just a guy that just comes there and just makes sure you have a great time, regardless of what that means.
So you can make a Moscow
Kingi,
mule.
yes, the Kingi,
Accurate.
definitely. The Kingi family has been victims of
Yes.
my.
Oh, are
My
they?
dad's-
They're your taste
Yes.
testers.
Oh,
Dad's
definitely.
70th birthday party.
Yes.
Was-
We had him as the
Yeah,
bartender.
and I tried to
mixologist
tell
there.
them like, all right, guys,
Yeah.
it's gonna taste well, but just be careful.
Yeah.
But I just love it. It's just a passion thing for me. I mean, I'm expert in pretty much everything. From anything from a martini to a mule to different varieties of old fashions to margaritas. I mean, you name it. I can
attest
Sidecar.
to it.
Oh, sidecar.
You can do-
Oh, yeah,
You
definitely.
go back.
Up or neat, however you want it.
Over near however you want it.
Yes.
There's a place. I don't know if you've ever been to. Are you a tequila guy?
I'm
Okay.
an everything guy.
Okay, so do you know about Casablanca?
I do know what Casablanca.
And that guy comes around with a tequila
Yes,
cart.
yes,
That could be
yes,
you.
yes.
That
It's a
could be-
thought. It's
you
a
know,
thought.
I love
Some
that
type of
guy.
mobile
It's
bartending
a
thing.
mobile
It's
bartending
pull up,
thing.
Yeah,
Pull up
possible.
on them.
Yeah, when you get your new building, he's going to be your entertainment.
Yeah.
I
But-
can attest to it.
and-
I've had the drink.
So he makes the drinks.
He does.
What do you do?
I cook.
You cook.
So I do the barbecue.
I starve.
Yes, he's
You
good
know,
at it.
I could drink and eat. So what
Yes.
do you cook?
Barbecue. So Kingi Q barbecue. I do I do small events, catering and things like that. But it kind of started off just, I love barbecue and
Pulled pork?
pulled pork, ribs, brisket, tri-tip,
phenomenal.
chicken, you name it.
You're the Santa
name it.
Maria barbecue of the West down here.
Yeah, and that was part of the problem. Like I've had good barbecue, Texas and all over the country, and then I would
Kansas
come home.
City.
Yeah, and I'd come home and I'm like, I don't like the barbecue here. So I started experimenting with rubs and things, and got my first smoker back in like 2010 or so, and then I just I started
Do you have one of those
experimenting.
bullet smokers?
He
I
does.
actually do. I have that. I have a big bullet smoker. I have some pellet smokers. I have like 4 different ones.
Where do you
so.
do that?
At my house. So I have like a whole little
Yes,
section
I'm
of my
going
yard.
to get
so.
his address.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's just too much barbecue, and then
Yep.
somebody has to eat it.
Yes.
I have
It
Ziploc
happens.
bags.
It happens.
It
There you
could,
go.
We
you know.
we even do the little packages, the little what do you call it? Air vacuumed.
Oh, there you
packages
go.
and yeah. I've had actually friends in Texas that are like, "Can you package some and send it?" So,
Oh man, I'm in. I think
Man
I
of
know
many
what I'm gonna.
talents.
Whoa, no kidding. Many
put it all
talents.
together.
Right.
But you know, as I say in my show, everybody has a story.
Right.
There are definitely private people out there. People, I understand that they don't really care. But for those of us that are public, those of us that have passion, mine is to talk, to collect your stories, to share it with my thousands and thousands and thousands of listeners who I couldn't. What would be the point if nobody's listening? I mean, this would still be fun.
it would.
Right.
It would.
But Inglewood listens,
Yep.
and I want to
Hello,
thank my
Inglewood.
Go Inglewood. Thank you for your support,
Yes,
and those
thank
of
you.
you in the local areas. Thank you
Yeah,
for your
for
support.
sure.
But guess what? Maybe you live somewhere else, and this has so inspired you. Get in touch with these fellas. Let them know if there's a way they can help you. Volunteers out there, interns out there. You can find me. I'm everywhere. So just email me if you don't know how to find them. I'll get you the information. And I just want to thank you guys so
Thank you so much. This is
much.
great. Yeah,
Thank you
great.
for having
Wasn't
us.
it
I know.
just?
Went by so fast.
I know.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
I had a
Doesn't-
feeling it was going to go like that.
I
so,
knew that it would, because people that have a passion for their lives want to share it.
Right.
So I am so grateful and appreciative. Maybe when you come back next time, you'll
Oh, yeah.
be talking about your new building.
No,
That'd be
definitely
awesome.
we will.
Send,
That'd be
send your
awesome.
money
Yes.
their way, everybody.
Money.
Money. That would have been another good
I know.
song
Hey,
for Mama
that's-
Mia.
it's all coming
there
here
you
now.
go. Next
Next
time,
time,
we already
next
got our
time.
playlist.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
And you know what? Go out and do something really special today. Pick up some paper that's on the ground. Smile at a stranger. Wave to somebody. Just do something that's good. And I'll see you again next week with Ravinder when we talk about how to cure that migraine headache. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.